Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you. Dr. Tony D. Collins is here to encourage, motivate, inspire, guide you into excellence. Your success matters. Your dreams matter. Sign up right now with Shepherd One Coaching and become a better you.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mocha crew and Mocha community. Thank you for joining us this evening. Those of you that have already connected with us, if you haven't sent me a greeting in the chat box, go ahead and throw up a comment, a greeting. Let me know that you're with me. I want to know who I'm talking to. Those of you that have saw fit to join us tonight. Good evening, Lachelle. Good evening, Rochelle. Lachelle and Rochelle, good evening to both of you. Thank you for joining us here tonight. I'm still waiting for some more of you to pop in here. And don't forget, as you pop in, throw up that hashtag Mocha Crew. I don't know if you all have noticed yet. Hey, Tisha. Hey, Tisha. Watching Uncle Reese, you told him you had to go. I'm quite sure he totally understands. Thank you for jumping on here with us. Brittany, good evening to you. Again, I know y'all think that I've been MIA, but I just got to admit right off the bat that August has been very, very hectic for me. Lady Ann just popped in with us. Good evening, Lady Ann. Always good when my girl pops in on me, on us. Jackie, good to see you pop in tonight. Again, I know y'all just think that I've been MIA, but I've been really BUSY. Like I was saying just a second ago, the month of August has really, really been a hectic month for me, for Lady Ann. We've just been running and going and going and running. And it's not slowing down in September, unfortunately. That's just the reality. It's just the truth. A lot of you all know that last month we did the church anniversary. We just came off of that with the anniversary itself, the gala, and then Lady Ann and myself were intricately involved in getting our granddaughters settled in the University of Arizona State. And that was very important to us. And so that took a great deal of our time as well. Toya, good evening to you. And so I've just been exhausted, to say the least, because of how hectic my schedule has been. And every time I come on with you all, y'all know I always desire to give you all my very, very, very best. And if I feel like I really don't have anything to share of great significance, then I try not to waste your time. Janet, thank you for joining us this evening, and welcome to Mocha Moments. I can't remember if I've ever seen your name pop in while we were having this time together. But if this is your first time, let me give you a personal welcome to the Mocha Crew community. Some of you that may be popping in for the very first time, you might be asking, what's the Mocha Crew thing all about? Well, as you know, you just tuned into Mocha Moments, our community here. We're called the Mocha Crew, and what our Mocha Crew is all about, it's all about adding value to the lives of other people. And how do we do that? By any small gesture that we think might be a blessing to someone else. And I often say that the simplest blessing that you can share with someone else, and it won't cost you anything but exercising a few muscles in your face, and that's to share a smile with someone else. Man, I tell you, I don't think some of us have come to realize, I think some of us have not yet come to realize the power there is just in a smile. You can share a smile with someone, and I'm telling you, you can literally make their day. It makes me feel good to be able to smile at others, or share my smile with other people. And I expressly feel very good when they reciprocate the gesture and they smile back themselves. Janet says, thank you. First time tonight, but listen to you many times on Tuesday. Oh, well, bless you. Bless you. Well, thank you for popping in. I'm honored. I'm delighted. I'm humbled. And I just want to invite you to share with us each and every time we come on together on this platform. Now, I will say, just for the record, this is not necessarily a preaching platform. But the things that I share what I have labeled as practical wisdom for daily living. Sometimes we just need to learn some practical lessons about how to navigate through life. You know, sometimes we get the academic and the scholarly information, and we really don't know how we can apply it to our own personal lives and thereby enhance our personal lives. But my objective here on this platform is to just take practical, simple principles, share them with people, and hope that they can receive what's being shared, apply it to their lives, and make their lives that much more the better. Um, and I hope that those who are a part of the Mocha community, the Mocha crew, and if you're part of that crew, again, don't forget to throw up that hashtag in the comments. Those of you that are part of the crew, that you are definitely committed to doing the same for others, sharing with others, being a blessing with others, sharing whatever wisdom you might glean from this platform. If you know that it's been a blessing to you and you believe it can be a blessing to someone else, that you would definitely do so. Tracy, thank you for joining us again tonight, and thank you for throwing up the hashtag Mocha Crew. Well, I know some of you are going to ask me before it's all said and done. You've noticed my T-shirt here. Yeah, I finally got my first T-shirt today, and I think it's pretty cool. And I know some of you are probably going to ask, how can you get a hold to this T-shirt? Well, we haven't gotten it up just as of yet, but soon I'm going to put a link up on my website, on the Shepherd One website, telling you how you can pre-order a Mocha Crew T-shirt, and we'd be glad to get one to you ASAP rather. And I hope once you receive your T-shirt that you will sport it wherever you go. Now, I'm not telling you to wear the same one every day. If you do, be sure to wash it. All right, but I'm going to have several different T-shirts that I can wear on a regular basis. Leilani, Cartina, thank you for joining us tonight. So listen, I don't want to keep you long tonight because I know I came on late. There were some other things that I was trying to get done. And I just decided, spur of the moment, let me go on here and just share a few of my thoughts, some of the things that have been rolling around in my mind today. The primary thing that I really want to address is the news that we woke up to this morning, in that there was another school shooting in a town called Winder, Georgia. Winder, Georgia. I understand it's about 1 hour north of Atlanta, and high school shooting. And the shooter was a 14-year-old kid. And y'all know me. Every time I hear of these type of events, my heart is saddened by the reports, and I become very disturbed when I hear the news of this type of thing taking place. And so, the thing that started going through my mind this morning, when the report came out, the first thing I thought was, wow, man, here we go again. And then I start thinking about the victims of the shooting, and I start to think about that town, that city where that took place. I started to think about the students who were in potential and even imminent danger, who are going to have to deal with this situation. The last report that I heard surrounding this particular shooting was that there were 4 dead and several injured. 2 of the dead were students, and 2 of the dead were faculty members. And there were several others that were injured by this 14-year-old shooter. When I think back on my years of growing up, my years of going to school, from kindergarten all the way through high school, I never that thought that something like this would have ever happened in my day and time, for sure. But even as I began to grow and become an adult and get older and things of that nature, for a long time, I never thought these kind of things would happen um, in our schools, period. I thought that even now Columbine would have been a once in a lifetime occurrence. But the sad part of this, about this whole situation, is that this is becoming more and more of a natural or ongoing occurrence. And what saddens me is the fact that it seems as though people are not as emotionally affected by it anymore. I remember back when the Columbine situation occurred, that thing had everybody in an uproar. People were literally in shock. They couldn't believe that something like that would take place in a public school where the building is only filled with a bunch of innocent people who are just trying to find their way and find themselves, discover their identities, impressionable young people who have hopes and dreams and futures, and they're just doing what they uh, knew that they needed to do in order to fulfill their requirements for graduation. Some of them were looking forward to going off to college and finding a career path in which they could not only enjoy, but they could also prosper from, and so when that happened, it just blew everybody away. But nowadays, it seems as though when people hear the news of events like this happening, they seem to become somewhat dismissive, which is really sad. And I believe one of the reasons why some people become so dismissive, or they easily dismiss what has happened, is because what has taken place hasn't affected them directly. Well, I guess I'm just built a little differently. It doesn't matter to me that I don't have anyone that I know personally who was affected by this particular shooting or any other shooting, as far as that matter goes. It doesn't matter to me that I didn't have a relative in the building or in that city or town where this took place. It doesn't matter to me that I didn't have a relative or a loved one who was directly impacted or even whose life had been taken by this shooter. For me, it's a matter of, here it is, people, human beings who are just going about their daily routines, who leave their homes early in the morning with the expectation of returning later on in the evenings. People who are just going out trying to face the many different challenges of life and navigate through those challenges with reasonable ease, just doing what they know to do. And all of a sudden, their lives become totally disrupted by a senseless act. And believe it or not, Mocha Crew, my heart goes out even for the shooter. I mean, 14 years old, mind, emotions, not fully developed or mature. But my major concern is that it seems to me, this is how what I've concluded about these situations, especially when the suspects or the shooters, or however you want to label it, call it, when they wound up being someone so young as this 14-year-old child. This child did this because initially they must have been the victim of someone else's indiscretions, someone else's bad decisions, someone else's lack of concern for that individual's development mentally and emotionally. Now, before anyone runs away with this, I'm not saying that I'm directly blaming the parents. That's not what I'm saying, because I really don't know the family dynamics. I don't know what kind of parents this young person had or has. I don't know anything about the family, but I can say that the child was failed. Our society uh, failed that child, and our society is yet failing so many more children. And the way we are failing them is that our society has become a society wherein we think it's okay to more or less rob children of their innocence. Well, how are we robbing them of their innocence? I'm glad you asked. We're robbing them of their innocence by allowing them or exposing them to so many things or too many things too early in life. There are certain things that children under a certain age just shouldn't be exposed to. It's too much for them to handle mentally and emotionally. You know, we think that we're loving them by giving them more freedoms, but there is a great deal of love that is expressed through restraints and restrictions. You know, I mean, those of us who are mature adults now, I think all of us can attest to the fact that when we were growing up and our parents put certain restrictions and restraints on us, we kind of resented it because we didn't understand at the time that what they were really trying to do was protect us. It wasn't because they were trying to keep us from enjoying life, but they possessed wisdom with regards to certain things. And they knew that if they were hands off with regards to your rearing, then it would be most likely that you would travel down the wrong path and end up in the wrong place. And the only people that uh, would be able to be blamed for that would be the parents. Well, um, this new age of parenting is really somewhat destructive, and it's not good for our children. Giving our children all of these freedoms that they're not mature enough to handle, and it's creating all kind of mental and emotional chaos and confusion. And then a lot of times, after parents have done this, the parents totally disregard even now the signs of their child's life being derailed because they're so focused on their own lives, and they're so selfish about their approach to life, what they're trying to pursue, what they're trying to make happen, that they totally disregard the well-being of their children, and they fail to actively parent their children as they should. You know, question has to be asked. Where did this 14-year-old get this gun in the first place? How is it that children have so much access to guns. How is that? Somebody is not paying attention. You know, somebody is guilty of neglecting their responsibilities. Now, we've often said that it takes a village to raise a child. And so what that in essence means that all of us must play a part in helping to raise and develop children to become productive adult citizens in our society. So how do we all play a part? Just the way we interact with children. We ought to be assisting parents in helping to show children what it means to live decent or respectable lives. And how do we do that? We model it before them by showing one another respect, by simply being respectful to one another. How do we do that? We do it by setting boundaries and then honoring the boundaries that we set. It's so sad nowadays. It seems as though we are so bent on trying to make our children equal with the adults rather than having them to understand that you are only afforded certain things in life as you grow into adulthood. I know this may sound old-fashioned. Some people would even say that my line of thinking is antiquated. But think about it. Look at the trouble our modern thinking has gotten us into. You know, Toya says here, they're doing it at malls, shopping centers, grocery stores. So many people are apathetic and numb. Yeah, they just don't care. Gentle parenting is a new term in how many are mishandling raising their children nowadays. It's an extreme opposite of being an authoritative parent. Now, again, I know that growing up, many of us probably we resented the authoritative style of parenting. But I think the generation of, or that era of authoritative parenting produced more productive, respectable, respecting adults. I mean, you can almost tell right off the bat when a person was raised with structure, strict structure, under a strong authoritative figure. Why? Because the people who were raised like that, I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, but most of the time, they live very structured and disciplined lives themselves. You all have heard me talk about how I was raised by my parents, how my parents were very, very, very strict. You know, there was a lot of things that I didn't get the opportunity to participate in that a lot of young people did participate in. And when my dad would tell me, or tell us rather, that what he was doing it for our own good. We didn't understand it, we didn't like it, and we really didn't want to receive it. But as time went on, he was proven to be oh so accurate in what he was saying. Some of the people that he refused to allow me to hang out with or go places with, most of them wound up in prison. They did some prison time at one time or another. And who knows, had he allowed me to follow the crowd and go along with my so-called friends at that time, or let me call them at least playmates. If he allowed me to go along with my playmates at that time, who knows what path I may have taken. I may not be sitting here tonight sharing with you like I am right now. Brittany says, I think a lot of people have become desensitized by what is considered the new normal in today's society. Nothing is normal about the thing happening. I agree with that 100%. And for those of you that may not know Brittany is of that younger generation. Brittany, what is it? You're in your early 20s? Very young person. I really love these young people that come on with us, those that are 30 something and younger. I love when they share um, their thoughts with us, because it gives me hope that all of our young people haven't dismissed all of the wholesome principles with regards to living life and being a productive adult citizen in our society. It just gives me hope to hear our young people talk like this. Tracy says parents these days are too busy trying to be their kids' friends, so the kids don't have respect for adults, let alone their parents. That's true. I talk about that all the time. And if you are a parent that has children and you're trying to be your child's friend, that's not what they need you to be. They need you to be their parent first and foremost. Toya said, yes, these children are really seeking direction in their impressionable years, and parents are just letting them do what they choose, like do as thy wilt. Recipes for impulsive thought processes. And she goes on to say, lack of understanding that there are consequences. Yes, I think you all are doing a great job summing up what's actually taking place in our society today. So the question is what are we going to do about it? I know some of us are still in shock, so to speak, because of how frequently these events are occurring, like the one that occurred today. It keeps us in shock. But at some point, at some time or another, we're going to have to regroup and figure out a strategy of how we are going to turn ourselves around first. Yeah, that just came to me, because sometimes we want to talk about turning the children around, but the adults got to get turned around first. Tisha says, yes, Toya, and God nor the church is nowhere in the equation. Okay, that's another issue right there. When God and the church has been removed from the equation. Lachelle said, my children are adults, but I don't count them as friends. Tisha says, I have so many classmates that have left the faith. Rochelle said, I agree. It starts with us. And so again, we're all expressing and sharing our thoughts on what the real issue is, or the real issues are, because yes, they are plural, and I really respect those of you who have taken the position that your children are not your friends. Now let me put just a little bit of clarity to that, because friendship can be shared between a parent and a child. It's when the parent and the child, the relationship morphs into them being buddies. It becomes a problem when when the hierarchy that exists between parent and child is no longer considered. Okay. I mean, you can be the type of person wherein your child considers you to be a good friend of theirs, in that they know they can trust you, they know they can confide in you, they know that you'll be the one who will be there with them and for them during their most difficult times. But yet and still, they understand that there is a level of respect and submission that they are obligated to show toward that parent, to the degree that they never feel as though that they are equal to the parent. You know, uh, there it is, Lachelle. I think that's a good way of expressing it right there. Lachelle says, I hang out with my children, but we still have boundaries." There it is, right there. There it is, right there. My good friend just popped in. Bonetta, hey, what's up, friend? You said I better preach. Okay. I'm doing the best. I'm doing the best I can. Uh, but yeah, that's it right there. You gotta set boundaries and maintain their boundaries. You all hear me talk about my granddaughter, Tia Taylor, man. I got too many T's in my family. All of my daughter's names began with T, and then my granddaughter's name began with T. That's the reason why I'm getting a little T tongue tied when it comes to talking about Taylor. No, I you all hear me talk about Taylor, and y'all have heard me express what kind of relationship we have. Taylor and I are very, 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 very close. And she always respects me as her grandfather, her pawpaw. I mean, she never blurs the line when it comes to me being her pawpaw. But an interesting thing happened a few years ago, and it blew my mind when she shared it with me. She was at a friend's house, and I happened to call her phone, and her friend said, "Taylor, your phone is ringing." And she said, "Look on there and see who it is." And they said, "Well, it comes up on the screen, best friend." And she said, "Oh, that's my papa. I'll call him back in a minute." I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away to hear. I said, "Taylor, you got me in your phone as your best friend?" She said, "Yeah." As if to say, why does that surprise you? Well, I mean, as young as she was at the time, I think she was 15, maybe 15, 16 years old, teenager hanging out with her teenage friends. But I pop up on her caller ID as best friend. Well, yeah, that blew me away. It just said to me, I discovered then that she had another level of love and respect for me that I didn't even realize, but it is because I truly believe it's been because that our relationship has been constant, yet with the proper boundaries. And the thing about it is, the boundaries have been so constant that we really haven't had to identify them as boundaries. I've never had to say to Taylor, "Wait a minute, little girl, you done gone too far." No, because we have that respect for one another. We have that love for one another. I'm going to always be pawpaw. And when I say something to her, she hears me, she listens to me, and she respects what I'm saying. But at the same time, she knows that she can talk to her pawpaw, express how she feels, And I give her that liberty because she's always so respectful in whatever she says and how she says it. How did she get that way? It's because of her village. It's because of the adults around her that have engaged her and interacted with her in a specific way that was healthy and wholesome. And so what is developing, what is coming out of those relationships, those boundaries that have been set? Taylor we are literally watching her grow and blossom into a very, very, very intelligent and mature young lady. Now, again, I'm not bragging. Oh, yes, I am. Every now and then you have to brag on your children, not in an arrogant way, but sometimes we really have to let our children know how meaningful they are, how important they are, how significant they are. I believe if we would shower our children with positivity, then the positivity that we shower them with will override and even push out all of the negativity. You know, if we keep saying negative things about our young people, they're going to do everything that they can to meet our negative expectations. You know how some people are. Well, since that's what you think about me, I'm going to give you what you expect out of me. That's all you're going to get from me. It only stands to reason. I think that we're in a time in a season where we're going to have to reconsider how we rear our children. Now, I know it's going to be a tall task. We have a tall task in front of us. But the only way that we're going to accomplish this task, the only way we're going to make a significant change is, as I stated a little earlier, is that we're going to have to change ourselves. Vanetta said parents tend to be afraid to set boundaries for fear of losing relationship with them. That's a powerful statement. I'm gonna say what you just said to me. You better preach, girl. that is so true. Listen, we can't be so fearful of losing relationship that we fail to be forthright, honest, and even stern with our children when necessary. Can't afford to do that. It's killing them. It's hurting them. It's destroying them. And again, like I said from the very beginning, I never would have thought we would have found ourselves in the type of situation that we're in right now. Now, I've said to you all on several occasions that this is not a preaching platform, but that does not mean that I won't bring up biblical or spiritual principles or issues at times. The Bible tells us to train up a child in the way that he should go. Train up a child. Ooh, just thinking about that. Train up a child. The word train implies that you have a teacher and you have a student. And the student is always subordinate to the teacher. The teacher has to give proper instruction, regardless as to what they think the student's response is going to be to the instruction given. The trainer is the one who's in charge. They are the one who is responsible for sharing whatever wisdom that needs to be shared to help the student or the trainee develop into the best version of themselves. Does that make sense? And so all I'm trying to say is that we who have been given the responsibility to train must again get back into training mode. We got to be willing to tell the truth to our children, to show them the right way. Well, okay, there it is right there. There's where the problem, that's where we run into the problem. Because to show our children, to be the example, is going to take us doing the work. It's going to take us sacrificing ourselves, doing what we have to do to make sure that our children are both covered and properly trained or instructed. You know, this whole thing about children saying, I got my own mind, and children got their own mind, they got their own way of thinking. You know, I know to some, especially nowadays, it may not have sounded right, but back in my day, parents told you how to think. Sometimes they told you what to think, even if they didn't tell you why to think what they were telling you to think. Toy said, but how healthy was the relation to begin with if it's contingent upon how often you say yes, no, or draw a line in the sand? There was never a level of respect involved. Yeah, there's great truth to that. There's great, but see, again, back when we were coming up, the parents weren't tripping on a healthy relationship. Only thing parents was looking for was a respectful relationship. I think we in church, we need to get back to preaching and teaching the word that specifically says to children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. You know, now, if we're going to preach that, we've got to give them an example that they can look at, embrace, and follow, and respect. You know, I think love is manifested in doing the right things and providing for the children a good example. Jackie says nowadays adults cannot say much to someone else's child. So there goes the village. True. That's also very true. But, you know, that shouldn't be when it comes to those of us who have relationship with one another and respect one another. And you know that if a particular parent is trying to correct your child and they're doing so having no malicious intent, then you can't, as adult, get in your feelings about someone trying to show some pure or authentic love toward your child just by correcting them. You know, let me say this, because sometimes I think we may give off too much of a notion that back in our day, parents just went around beating up on other people's children indiscriminately, you know, just for the sake of. One of the ways that other parents kept children in check, you know, parents who were not the parent of a particular child that they find cutting up. One of the reasons why, how rather, they help to keep that child in check is that they would often say when they caught that child cutting up, hey, listen, if you don't cut that out, I'm gonna tell your mama on you. I'm gonna tell your daddy on you. I'm going to tell your parents how you are acting. And that threat within itself carried a lot of weight, because with many of us in the houses that we grew up in, there were consequences and repercussions for our bad actions. The problem is nowadays, children no longer have consequences or repercussions for their bad acts, for their bad behavior. As a matter of fact, they still get rewarded even for bad behavior. And that's a problem. The most that children get nowadays, in many occasions, are idle threats. Boy, if you don't sit down, and kid is saying in the back of their mind, what you gonna do? Nothing. Y'all know that happens all the time. That's the type of society we seem to have raised. Those are the kind of children we seem to have raised nowadays. And because they know that they're not going to suffer any consequences or repercussions from their parents for their bad acts, they don't respect the parents. Therefore, they're not going to respect any other adult. And they only know that consequences are real when they finally run into law enforcement and law enforcement is not playing with them. Well, by then, it's almost too late because all of that bad behavior that they were accustomed to getting away with, it comes to a screeching halt, but in a way that is not going to be good for them in the long run. Well, again, I'm going to wrap this up, but the bottom line is it's got to start with us. It's got to start with the adults. We got to do something different. We've got to get ourselves together. And I'm still making a plea to those within, bird's eye view of my generation. I'm making a plea that we start encouraging one another to get back to God, to get back to the church, so that we might reestablish some civility among our people, that we might establish or begin to once again recreate a wholesome society for the children and the young people coming along behind us. I realize it may never get back to the way it was. And the reason why is because the laws are changing so fast. Every day, the laws are being changed, not for the better, but for the worse. Morality is being legislated out of our society, and immorality has taken center stage. And it's sad. And this runaway train has gained so much momentum that it may be almost impossible to get that train to stop. But we can start, for lack of a better term, ministering to one another, ministering to our children, our grandchildren, even our great grandchildren, in a way where they can come to realize they don't have to uh, jump on board of that fast moving train that's headed to utter destruction. Some way, somehow, we're going to have to reconnect with my generation of people and the generation immediately following. We're going to have to reconnect with them, with us, and see if we can somehow be successful appealing to their better senses, and hope that they have better senses left within them, to wherein they finally acknowledge the fact, hey, I just need to get back to God. I got to do better. I've got to make sure that my life is in alignment with the will and the word of God. I realize that if I stay on this trajectory that I'm presently on, then it's not going to do anyone that's coming behind me any good. Some of us got to have those kind of real conversations with ourselves. Or you need to have those kind of conversations with your friends and your close circle. You know, um, I know that sometimes people feel like that their fun is being dampered when they get together as get together socially and have serious talks about social issues and even about spiritual issues. But at some point you have to get to a point in life where you realize that you need some serious moments where you sit down and have serious conversations with your circle of friends and have real talk and not sit there and try to make excuses and justify the, let me just say it like I feel it, the jacked up lives that some people are living. Stop trying to justify that jacked up way of living that you're currently experiencing or going through. Be real with yourself. Be honest, and say, hey, it's time to do something different. Have those real conversations, you know. And I think once we do that and start encouraging one another to get better for the sake of our communities, then I truly believe that we can make a big difference in our world. Well, looky here. Look who just joined us, y'all. My little brother that I ain't heard from in months of Sunday. What's the matter with you? You can't call nobody? No. Uncle Reese. What's up, man? What's up, my friend? I'm so glad that you popped in. Tisha, interesting. Tisha says Uncle Reese was just talking about having friends that hold you accountable. That's right. Yeah, it's been a minute. I love you too, bro. We got to get together. We got to catch up. We got to catch up. It's time for us to talk again. It's been too long. Seems like I ain't talked to you since the pandemic. All right. But hey, Reese, I want to say to you, man, keep doing what you're doing. If you're dropping those nuggets and sharing that wisdom, that is encouraging people. And see, the thing about it is that you're a younger man. You're younger than myself, and I know that sometimes age itself creates a barrier between generations. I feel like that I can talk and relate to people of all ages, but sometimes the gray in my beard and just knowing my age in particular causes some people to kind of recoil and kind of turn me off, so to speak, because I realize that some people pop in on my Mocha moments and just see my face alone and say, hey, this dude looks like an old dude that I don't have time to listen to. But don't let the gray hair fool you. I still keep up enough to know how to share wisdom for people of all ages with regards to how to navigate through life. One thing I found out about wisdom is not how do I want to say this? Age sensitive. In other words, it's not relegated to one specific age or generation. Wisdom will work for anybody and everybody across the board. Let me get this one last comment and then we're going to close out. Toya says, I've embraced the fact that I'll be considered the old, strict parents. I take it as confirmation that I'm training up my daughter in the way she should go. I want to please God, even in my parenting. Well, if you maintain that type of resolve, I guarantee you, you will never look back on your parenting with regret. Do we always get it right? Not necessarily. But when you do the best you can to follow the biblical principles that God has given us for raising children, I guarantee you, although you may miss it here or there every now and then, but for the most part, you will put enough in your children to where the only thing that they'll be able to do is reject maybe what you've taught them, but they will never be able to truly deny that you did teach them. Is that all right? All right, y'all. Thank you all. Thank you all for sharing with us tonight. It's been, again, my pleasure. And I truly hope that you all have been blessed. Listen, if this session has blessed you tonight, share the link with someone and say, hey, you need to go out here and listen to this Mocha Moment session. Again, as soon as we get the link set up on my website, I'll let you know how you too can get one of these shirts here. Get one of these shirts. I can't ignore this last comment here that Janet threw up here. Give them a good Christian foundation. They will always turn to God. Amen, Sister Janet. Amen to you. Thank you so much. Thank all of y'all. I love y'all. God bless you. And until next time, be blessed and good night.